Hello and welcome to Business Exposed, the podcast which discusses the unfiltered truth and reality of running a business. This week is something a wee bit different. Myself and Lynn have decided to put some of the best bits of all our guests so far. We've had property investors and developers, CEOs, cleaning companies, you name it. We have had a whole range of business males and females on the podcast. So we hope you enjoy this week.
I expected to be busy straight away. And it does, like, why is my phone not ringing? Like, what's going on? Because where I worked before, they had already grown their brand. Like, I was just part of it that was in there. And coming away from it, like, I had no clue about running a business. None of my family have a business. So I was going into it completely blind. I didn't have anybody advising me. Because obviously when you walk away, I'm like, right, okay, what do I need to do? And I had to scramble around for everybody that sort of tried to help me with accountants. I had to what do you need to do for legislation? Like all of these different things, which actually took the biggest time out. And the other side, I think that was also a positive for me because I've learned that all now. Now, obviously, I've rebranded and gone completely on my own.
Yeah.
But I've done it so much quicker, faster and everything else that it's given me a little bit more experience. But bearing in mind that's only been 6 months, and going from that sort of thinking, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was listing maybe between 30 to 50 houses a month. I'm not listing that.
Aye.
But again, I thought, well, even if I could list 20, that was probably the biggest wake-up call that, I need to go out and I need to make sure that I'm getting at least somebody to speak to that's got a house to sell and everything else, because it doesn't. If you're sitting there going, it's just going to come to me. Like, you could be, for me, I've been in the industry for 20 years, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I just walk away and somebody goes, I'm going to go with you or anything like that. You have to really, really work for everything that you're doing. And that's a phone call, that's recommendations, that's networking, that's everything that I do behind the scenes, which nobody probably sees as much of.
Aye. It is quite a difficult one, because I know you kind of briefly touched on it when I watched your podcast you done with Sean, and I think he asked you, like, where do you see the future in terms of, scaling the business. But it is a difficult one, because I often think the same thing myself. Like, to me, it doesn't matter what company that you work for, whether it was Solo or your previous companies or Fifth Avenue, right? If I want to bring you on to sell my property, from what I see you do, I'm buying you. You're the brand.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite difficult when you've got what you've got. I know we're in a similar position. Like, we are the brand, and then suddenly, like, if I call up Fifth Avenue and then you say to me, "Oh, I'm going to send John. He's coming down to the house." I don't know if it has the same like.
It definitely doesn't, and I think probably more now. And I was saying this to Orla, who is my social media manager, but I was like, when we talk about scaling the business, like, I've got it nice right now where I still have that balance. Mm-hmm. Or do I? That's always another question that creeps back in. Do I have that work-life balance? But the reality is like, if I list more and more properties, I'm going to have to bring more and more people in. And then that is the risk of, do people want that? Do people want somebody, like, if you came to work for me and then I sent you out to value Lynn's house or anything like that, and Lynn's bought into me, would that still have the same effect?
Aye.
I think if you were getting someone that's got a similar personality to you, it would be easier.
Yeah.
The difficulty would be if you were taking someone on, I think, and it's not got the same vibe, not got the same enthusiasm, excitement and drive and, vivacious personality kind of thing. That's where I think it would not work.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest lesson that I have learned being on my own as well, is for me looking at what who I'm going to hire and what that role looks like, is I don't know. Eventually I will need somebody, but I think like it has to be someone real. It has to be someone genuine. I don't care if they have estate agency experience. They could be selling, like as you say, sales is sales. Like, as long as you can talk to a person and you can understand what they're looking for, then I think like if they have the personality, if they have that drive, then
it's the skills
half
that
the
they
battle.
need.
Yeah,
definitely.
the skills can
and
be taught.
They can be taught. If you've got the
absolutely.
personality, the skills can always be taught. I think at the end of the day, it's if you've not got that customer awareness
Aye.
of how people operate and how people think,
Yeah.
that's when it becomes really difficult.
Those skills, I just think you can't teach. You know, those ones are unteachable.
No, I
like,
think
see having that, like the ability in you to like genuinely care about a customer and genuinely, like, at the end of the day, like, we're all in a solutions based business.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, if you don't have it in you to like genuinely care, I mean, like when I worked in the motor trade and I had like a lot of sales guys working for me. The ones that I hated when I seen somebody who they were like focused on, like, oh, well, if I sell this many cars, this is how much money I was going to make. I'm like, no, that's the byproduct. The money's the byproduct of like delivering a good service.
Yeah.
You know, if you deliver a good service and like you're like genuine, sincere and want to look after somebody, you cannot be the best and not get paid. It doesn't work like that. The money's the byproduct.
Correct. And it works tenfold because people never forget, and I always say this, people never forget how you make them feel.
Yeah.
So that works where they'll go, oh, do you know what? I had such a great service from Alan. Go and speak to him if you're going to look at and buy a car.
1,000,000%.
Passion will make your day-to-day easier, but it's not going to put food on the table
Yeah.
necessarily if it's not bringing money in, because, you know, to be in business is to make money. And so you need to obviously cover your own costs and expenses. And if I'm assuming you'd be drawing a wage, so you need to cover all of that and what your job would have given you, as well as having the capital in the business, as well as the cash flow, as well as the buffer put aside for the lean times.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably is anyone sort of heading into the path of turning your passion into business should be very aware that you do need to have all these little pots, I guess, of money put aside, so that you have that buffer, so that you have the cash flow to succeed. Because you know, cash flow is the lifeblood. It's the blood of your business. Without it, it's going to dry up and die pretty quickly.
Aye,
Definitely.
especially in the
property.
I was going to say that. I was going to say the same, especially in property. One thing doesn't go your way, which can 9 times out of 10 be out your control. You can have all the strategy and all the planning, but a lot of the other stuff is out with your control potentially, which, as you say, impacts your cash flow, and that can dry up very, 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 very quickly.
Exactly.
I've just had one which has just been downvalued, right? And you probably won't even believe, you go, so how's this even happened? It's been downvalued by 40 grand, and it's not even it's an issue which is an offline conversation, which is to do with the surveyor. Kind of made a potential maybe mistake on something, but then the lender will only accept one valuation on it. And so the bottom line is, this is the situation, right? The situation is the situation, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, when I was going to refinance it, I had a plan for like a lot of that money elsewhere. So, but I've already committed to this other plan, so I now need to find some. You know, so there's a lot of moving,
Lots of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, no, that is sad, and it does just take one deal to take you under.
Yeah.
100%.
Have you been in that position yourself, Linda?
No, I haven't actually, thankfully. I would say I'm quite, and maybe this is the insurance background, but not risk averse, but knowing how to manage it. I always have like the plan B or the plan C.
Yeah.
And I will never take on anything too risky. I mean, I read somewhere that, you know, the 2 reasons why people fail in business is because they either try to grow too quickly, or they take on something that they're just not experienced about. Yeah. And maybe touching back on your point then, you know, how does someone sort of navigate that space when they've got a passion, they're trying to then, you know, make it evolve it into a business? Yes, you can be very good at what you do, but unless you have experience and all those other components that come with running a business, like how to manage your tax, your VAT, if that's appropriate.
That's a lot of the stuff that does put people under.
Yeah, all that, you know, you do need to be able to spin all those plates at the same time, as well as having your day-to-day time side to do whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're cutting hair or a barber or whatever.
I think the tax thing is really an important point, because there's so many moving parts to the tax. Then if you don't understand that, then that could potentially, I mean, like there's so many stories, and we've all heard about this, whether you're in business or not. You hear somebody saying like, oh, I just get a 20 grand tax bill through that I wasn't expecting, right? Well, well, you should have expected that So it was actually really like, how do you not know that was coming? So it was really down to the knowledge of like managing your cash flow and what's taxable and vatable and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's a lot of, you need to be really knowledgeable in very different fields, or if not, you certainly need to have the right advisor to keep you on track, because I never really understand how that happens, but I kind of think that's the only way it could really happen, because you're not accounting for things correctly. But you've obviously mentioned growth there as well. How many flips have you done now? I know it's excess of 50.
50 something.
So that's a lot, right? Yeah. And how long you had the business for?
About 10 years
so
now.
There's quite a lot of flips within that period of time. How do you grow? 'Cause it's something we were talking about last week. Is it how do you get that growth when generally the property world transacts quite slow between solicitors, conveyancing, builders, all the moving parts? It generally works, as I said, my background, from my sales background, is a lot of quick decisions, and everything happens very quickly. But then you move into the property space and you realise it doesn't act as quick as I thought it was going to be. So how do you kind of manage multiple flips and multiple projects when things don't tend to move generally that fast?
Yeah, so I actually see the pace, albeit relatively slow, as an advantage, because you have time to plan, you have time to think about things, design your project, and then get all your ducks in a row, so that when you are ready to start, you can move forward and feel organised and not stressed out and know what you're working towards. I mean, property in itself is obviously a very slow moving asset compared to other asset classes. You know, your stocks and shares, where obviously you have spikes up and down very quickly, and property prices do tend to take a lot of time to obviously reduce or increase, despite maybe what the newspapers might tell you. So again, sort of using that to your advantage, where you can where flips are concerned, obviously, so long as you're buying and selling in the same market, you can be pretty much guaranteed what and be able to work out what your property should realise. But when you come to sell, where I see people actually fall down is where they've maybe taken 2 or 3 years to renovate something. Meanwhile, the market has changed in that time, and if it's gone backwards, then they wonder why they've made significantly less than what they had initially thought they might. But to maybe answer your question more specifically in terms of how you sort of plan for multiple flips, I mean, for me, it's always come down to a sort of a funding point of view, where you can utilise, the products that are specifically underwritten for flips, so short-term bridge and finance mainly, and then sort of leverage from that. And again, you're touching on, using experts in whatever particular field to advise you. One of the things I've always been sort of clear on everything I've been doing is I don't like to accept second best, and I like to work with people in the top of their game. So whether that's solicitors, finance brokers, estate agents, surveyors, that type of thing, so that you can get the good advice. Because even if you are maybe working with a solicitor, doesn't mean to say that they're any good. I just use solicitors. We're not saying all solicitors, right? Thank you. But it could be anyone. We're all human at the end of the day, and you get what you pay for. And people can give you the wrong advice.
I think as well, in a world where regulation is changing so quickly, legislation is changing so quickly, then even these other professionals, just keeping on solicitors, for example, they're having to try and keep up to date with their knowledge. I mean, I know certainly last year I was misadvising something, and it wasn't the solicitor's fault. It was just so happened the timing of something changed, and it wasn't by any means the solicitor's fault. But there's so many moving parts that everybody's trying to keep up.
And what's right for you is obviously, I think, what only right at any given time. We all have lives, and we have, our circumstances might change. Our kids might, obviously, kids get older. Your financial needs change. You might be going to university. We have aging parents to deal with. All of these complexities of life, I think, will determine what's right for us at any given time. And I think having that ability to adapt to your personal situation or what the market might throw at you at any given time, it is really key. And it's having those reflecting on your business rather than always working in it.
Yeah.
To make sure that you are, keeping in tow with, what I've just said there. I mean,
Yeah.
and for me, that there was an intentional shift. Probably about 5 years ago, just sort of coming out of COVID, actually. It was the only time that I've ever cried about my business. And it was when I'd been working so hard to build something, and things were in a great place, and I'd taken on staff and I was managing 3 flips at any given time. I had this, real tight team of tradesmen. We were all working really well together, making really good money. And then I had one project we were about to work on. I had 3, I think, coming to the market between January and March 2020. And then, of course, the whole world started to close down and the land registry closed.
You got advisors on board with you that can steer you in the right direction? Because you've said yourself you don't have like a lot of business background, but your partner, Cammie's family does.
Yeah. So Cammie's family had a bit of business background. So his mum has come in and seen us a lot, kind of through our journey as well. But I just believe it's you just take it as you come business, I always get told in the car trade that a day's never the same. Well, wait till you start your own business, and then you certainly believe every day isn't the same,
100%. The thing is, it's back to that thing that you hear people talk about, saying that, like, what is really, let's be honest here, what is the worst case scenario, right? You start your own business and it doesn't work out. Well, you're going to end up back in the place that you were before you started it anyway. That is really the only kind of...
A lot of people see it as a lot of risk, if that makes sense, and I'm kind of a great believer as money comes and it goes,
Yeah.
Sometimes you could be rich, sometimes you could be skint, but it'll come and it'll go.
100%.
So just anybody that's watching, I would say, if you've got the hunger and fire to start your own business, there's nothing like just getting it done right away.
How did you manage your mindset though with the risks that were involved? So, going from having a good paid job, being successful at it, like being obviously known for being a good salesman at it, what made you then think, I've got what it takes to do this on my own now?
I probably wouldn't know the answer till you get going.
Right.
If that makes sense, I know I could sell cars all day long. I was really good at selling cars, but when you're looking, obviously, when you first start in business, you're a rookie businessman, so it's not just selling cars. It's, for example, in the car trade, there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
In the
likes
background.
of getting body work done, the likes of preparing cars. So at the start in the business, we never had any mechanics on site. So we were outsourcing all our preparation work.
Right.
So it was trying to find that happy medium between over-prepping a car and we didn't want to under-prep a car, so we wanted to put out really solid, good cars. So there was a lot of things that came up, kind of, that you just don't expect, throughout the year.
I think a lot of it, it's like you say, you just learn as you go. I think everybody, when they first start, thinks they've got to know everything about everything. I touched on that when I was speaking to Paul, my mentor.
Right.
When I first started and left school to be a travel agent, my manager told me, she says, you don't need to know everything about every country. She says, but what you need to know is where to find stuff out about every country, and you'll gather that knowledge as you go along. And I think that is important, is that you don't have to know everything right at the beginning to get prepared before you launch. There's things you're just going to have to learn on the hop.
I think that was obviously what we done. We were learning as we were going along, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You never ever know what the next obstacle is when you're starting a business. Anything can come up. I never ever thought I'd have been in B&Q so many times in my life. For the first year. So there's so many things in business that can come up, and so many challenges. And I don't think we've made a lot of bad mistakes, if that makes sense, throughout the year, but we've certainly learned as we've went along.
I think it's inevitable to make a mistake at the beginning because, and as long as, like you say, they're not being like hugely costly, then you know, there's a way around it, and there's a way to fix stuff.
Yeah.
But I think understanding that you're going to make mistakes. I said that to my partner when we first started. I said to him, I went, you know, I'm going to make mistakes as we're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want you shouting at me. I said, so can we just be aware of that right at the beginning, please?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I know you're going to make mistakes. And I was like, that's fine then.
Tell us about what I would perceive anyway is your biggest challenge. So you've started the business, everything kind of was going your way, you were seeing success very quickly, there was a lot of cash flow, and then tell us what happened in December.
Oh, so we were doing really, really well the full year, so we weren't losing money, if that makes sense. We were always in profitable income, you know, and we had about 7 cars to go coming up to December. No, actually in December it was a couple of weeks before Christmas. And what happened was we had a certain amount of income that was coming back into the bank when we had all our bills, our wages, everything else to pay at the end of the month. And the week before Christmas, we had 6 people cancelling their cars.
Oh no!
Which you're almost banking on that income coming back into the bank, and then all of a sudden you've got your wages, your bills, your rent, everything to pay at the end of the month. So it actually ruined my Christmas, to be fair, you know, and my business partner's Christmas at the time.
I remember speaking to you, I think it was in Boxing Day, I think it was, and I'm like, how's your Christmas? You're like, it's been destroyed.
Oh,
like,
yeah, and it just shows you how you can be like flying, if that makes sense, doing really, really well, and everything's going rosy, and then one week it can just change, and then your mood can just change as well, you know, so you just never ever know what's round the corner. And that was a massive lesson I learned, was that week. Don't ever bank until the car's out the door and the money's in the bank and it's secure, if that makes sense, because you never ever know what's round the corner.
Having to put a show on as if this is the best place in the world.
Thing is, I think that's why so many people who are in the hospitality industry enjoy it, because it is, like as you say, like you could be on a 12-hour shift and you could have worked, I don't know, 8 of them already, but come 5 o'clock on a Saturday, you're right, that's when the real showtime kicks in, and everybody's got that buzz, there's that drive, there's that adrenaline, and there's that real sense of achievement.
You know, because you've all pulled together as a team as well.
Exactly.
And then the other flip of the thing off of customers go, you're like knackered, son. That's because I've had 3 hours sleep in 2 days. You know what I mean?
The good thing is, I think a lot of people are accustomed to that, and they know what the hospitality industry is like, probably sympathise a wee bit.
I think some do. I think there's some that still expect, they don't care if you've got sore feet. And they'll expect 110%, regardless of what you're feeling like. And that's where I feel, you know, customers can be a wee bit harsh.
But sometimes operators can be that bad as well. And I've not been shy to say something like that. It's my team. I look at after them as if it's this is my team.
It's like family.
They're here to help me, and there's a lot of fun. And I've sometimes been running hotels where I've had a team and I've been in the next morning. I've thanked them that they're turning over, say, like a big lunch from the Friday night, 300 people lunch. We're going to a wedding on the Saturday. I've got staff that's done that dinner for 7 o'clock, but they're willing to work till 4 in the morning to try and turn that, as much of that room round as they can for the wedding the next day. And I've done, and I know how I've been there as a staff doing that, or I've had to stay there and make sure it happened myself because I've not enough staff. And then I'm saying right away, I'm like, I'll try and get you a room in the hotel tonight if there's a spare room, so you don't need to go home.
I was just about to say, what kind of things do you do?
You need to try and negotiate with them. He's trying to try, some of them don't. Some of them are like, right, I'll see you back here at 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't work like that. I'm like, we'll go you some food, they'll get your breakfast in the morning. I've got your room in the hotel. Be up and ready, get your breakfast. We'll meet here at 10 o'clock. Wedding ceremony starting at, say, 1 o'clock. But they're only getting 4 or 5 hours sleep. But you're trying to, they're helping me.
Exactly.
And sometimes the owners are like, what are you doing that for? I'm like, I says, look, they're here to help me, to help you.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, and if some don't think of that in the bigger picture, like,
we're in this together.
Look after them a bit. You look after it. I've always said to the owners, say, you look after me, I look after you. I've never quite got that. One operator got it right, where if you look after your staff, they'll look after you. The proper ones will look after you.
In return, they'll look after the customers.
Yes. And they're the ones that's looking after your business. They're the ones that's making you money. at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think if you look after them, they'll want to come to work. They'll want to work for you.
Exactly. It breeds loyalty, and it breeds respect, and it just makes everything run smoother, and they feel appreciated.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than you're getting hammered by a boss continually, and he gives you nothing but your wage at the end of the day. And I know that genuinely that is what your boss is only meant to do.
Yeah.
But that is a bare minimum.
Yeah.
You're getting your wage, and they expect everything for that.
Some of you don't even get a
But
thanks.
you're-
Sometimes
no.
it's just good enough. Some operators you don't even get a thanks. It's just expected.
It's
Yeah.
And I
expected.
get
That's
it's your
right.
job, but there's sometimes you're like,
Yeah,
know,
you've
I've
got to
put
show
my plan in here to
appreciation,
get this to where
definitely.
this is.
Yeah.
Or I've pulled a 90-hour week this week
Yeah.
for you, not for my benefit really, because
Exactly.
there's times I've done that. I'm on a salary, and there's a lot of folk who not, you know, get no. I'm on my salary.
Yeah.
Why did you do it? Because I had to.
Aye.
Because I'm the manager. I have
Exactly.
to.
That's
You know what I mean?
what I'm really employed to do.
And there's owners that have slap you a wee.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Go and get
We'll
you and
look
your
after
missus. Go and you and your missus go and enjoy a wee
Yeah.
meal
Yeah.
or whatever. But then some owners will just walk in the next morning and go, "Oh, what's that not done?" And I'm like, "Why's that not done? You having a laugh?"
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
That's it. And
You keep that up,
again,
nothing will get done today.
it comes back to when the owners they're not on the forefront, and they're not seeing everything. They're standing back, and they're wanting you to do the work. But
The worst
there's got to-
operators are the ones that's not worked in the industry.
Exactly.
They're the worst operators to work with.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to work for good and bad operators, and you learn for the bad
Yeah,
how not
of
to do
course.
stuff.
Yes.
You learn more for them.
Aye,
to
exactly.
put
Exactly.
I would agree.
Because you know what not to do.
Yeah, I know
How it
exactly.
doesn't work.
For some of them, certainly they know what not to do.
Yeah.
But some of them, like, as I say, when you're talking about money and like, there's some people don't think they can just go and buy a restaurant or go and buy a pub and they'll be millionaires by the end of the year.
Aye.
Yeah.
It does
It's
not
not
work
gonna
like
happen.
that. There's no, their heads are up their backside.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I watch, like we're talking about Gordon Ramsay, no wonder he goes into some of these places and he's pulling his hair out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're like, what are you, why are you even here?
Exactly.
Because there is people within the hospitality industry, I'm like, you shouldn't even be anywhere near
Yeah.
this game.
Exactly.
You
not
are
even-
not a Scooby.
It's not
Yeah.
even just the hospitality industry. I mean, let's be blunt here. Not everybody has it cut out to run a business.
No.
With the challenges that come along with running a business, not everybody's cut out for that, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
But it's the ones that think that they are when they're not. That's where the
and
it's
they're
completely
willing to
obvious.
listen.
yes, and that's where the challenges
Yeah.
become. What effects of the fitness industry had on the hospitality industry?
Massive now. Can I briefly get on to just to get to this? As you look, as I say, we talked earlier about the pubs in their heyday in
Yeah.
the 90s when you could drink and drive, wasn't an issue. Nobody cared. Look, you had no Sky in the house. You had the drink ban wasn't in. There's pub, you had your Monday club. It was
Yeah.
historically called.
Yeah,
Doing 6-7 grand in a month. There's so many pubs doing that in a Monday, can I assure
No.
you.
yeah,
And then you came away into kind of now, the present day, with your Instagrammable millennial folk that want to take pictures at the gym and
Yeah.
eat nice food as if they're celebrities.
Yeah.
They're their own celebrity within where they are. kind
yeah,
of thing.
Yeah.
their own
And-
community.
And the fitness industry now, and I think there's been a kick when we were kind of briefly talking about COVID, that again is had an impact for that because a lot of people have been a lot more conscious of themselves
Yeah.
and want to be better than themselves, and I have no issue with that.
Yeah,
But as I say, that is what's made a big effect on the drinking culture.
Yeah.
Because you're a young team these days, is what I would kind of see, your 18 to kind of 23-year-olds kind of group, that when I was younger, you were Friday, Saturday night, pub, nightclub,
Yeah.
town.
yeah.
Glasgow was chock-a-block.
You were barely sober for the Monday.
You sometimes you went back to Monday.
I know. in at 5 a.m. and back up at 6 for work.
You were, as soon as finish your work at 5, you're away, and that's you. No back
Aye.
to 8 o'clock, get a shower, then you go to
Yeah.
work at 9.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
They're
But
not
that's
interested,
gone.
aren't they? Aye,
Oh,
that's
they're like, what you do that? Oh, you're an idiot.
yeah,
You're
Yeah.
like, no, I enjoyed myself back then. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But they're away for that, like what you would call back then an empty.
Aye.
Yeah.
You hear them
I've
go,
not
it's a
heard
gaff
somebody
now.
mentioning that word for years.
I said that, and the young team was like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "I think when you're Mondari,
A gaff?
You have like a
It's called
gaff.
a
What's a
gaff
gaff?"
now, like, yeah.
I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
very sorry." I was like, "Yeah, the times here."
Aye.
But
No,
that's
you-
what I say. That's what's changed, and that's what's brought in again to help the fitness industry. The amount of mates that I've got are just fitness mad.
Yeah.
Like, and it's someone that's changed their whole lives. I've got a friend, she's a very good personal trainer, and she's just honed in on it, and she's made that her life, she's made that her business.
Yeah.
And she does really, really well. But then that's it took effect, as I say, nightclubs are shutting. There's no many nightclubs in Glasgow anymore.
You're representing that club with you, either if you're with them or not at the time, then still representing them.
It's how you conduct yourself
Yeah.
in different settings.
Definitely.
Do you think it's made you less anxious about going into situations that you've managed to establish a level of knowing how to conduct yourself in any setting, that you can go into any setting now and feel comfortable, relaxed, quite confident?
Definitely, I think the club helps with all that. They put us in weird places at times.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
Like-
they do.
Give me an example.
Yeah.
Like the
Bear in mind, I
fans.
This
told you,
sounds interesting.
I was going to say, bear in mind, I told you before, I don't know a lot about football, right? So,
The fan zone, for this instance, like you'll go to a game, a first team game, at the home stadium, and then there's a little area where you can go talk to fans and stuff. But getting put up on that stage and talking to people that have supported that club since they were young.
Yeah.
I mean,
And generations of people that have
like,
supported it, yeah.
their kids, like their dads, everyone.
Their granddads, yeah.
They're all there. Like, 'cause you're the next ones coming up, so they want to know. So you need to make a good impression. I mean, you need to be on the fan side.
do you
Before
think that brings an added pressure? Like, see if you're put in that environment, does it bring you an added pressure that I know that you need to represent the brand and conduct yourself, but do you think there is anything added on top of that that's like,
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I just
Definitely.
think because everyone's judging you 24/7, you're always getting judged.
yeah.
And if you slip up, if you do something that the fans maybe don't see as professional, or how they see as a footballer or anyone that plays sport, you get scrutinised straight away. You get yours straight away. You're in the newspaper or whatever, or social media. If you're on social media and you do something that maybe they don't think's deemed professional,
Yeah.
that's you've lost them straight away, and it doesn't look good.
Yeah. I think the world as well that we're in, I think a lot of people don't realise that for anybody that's in the kind of public eye to any degree, they're still just normal people at the end of the day, right?
100%.
They're still just normal.
robots.
Aye, just trying to live your own life, and you're still going to swear and whatever it may be, and that's fine. But when you're put in the public eye, it's suddenly deemed as you can't be
Gotta
normal.
perfect,
Yeah.
aye.
I
You know,
think
and you're scrutinised much further.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to be 100% relaxed because you know that one step out of line, it'll get picked up on, and
Yeah.
you'll pay
Yeah.
heavily in the price for it.
Exactly, but it wouldn't be picked up on as if
If it
you
was
were
just
you
your
know, if it was
name.
just Joe Blogs
Yeah.
walking down the street.
Definitely, yeah.
100%.
So, part of your other thing with the club, what kind of things do they do with you? I know that you've all got wee jobs to do. So tell us a little bit about some of the jobs that they give you to do to help with your, just to help with your development as a whole. It might not look like whatever example you're going to give us. It might not think, how is this going to help develop us? But try and give us an example of that for people that don't know much about the football background.
They say it's for discipline, like teaching you that you are now like the bottom of the barrel, like in the development phase of football. 16s, you're the top, like the academy phase, so
Okay.
like you're the big ones, and then they jump up to professional. You're now the bottom.
No, you're nobody.
Like,
That's how
you're
they try
a
and make it.
nobody.
You're a nobody.
Aye.
You're just a number.
Yeah.
16s
Right.
academy, you're the top, and then suddenly you're at the bottom again with the 18s B team and first team. You're down.
Right.
So the jobs kind of help with discipline, so keep us like steady headed. That's right.
Yeah.
Grounded.
Yeah,
Aye,
keeps you
aye.
grounded.
I mean,
What
for
kind of
instance-
jobs is it that you do?
For instance, the jobs change every 6 months, but not 6 months, 6 weeks.
Yep.
But for goalies, we have the one job the full year, and then another job on top of it. So goalies, for instance, we clean the first team staff books. So
Right.
your gaffers, assistants, goalie coaches, like all of them. And they need to be cleaned every day and polished.
Right, okay.
And if it's not like that, then they're raging with you.
Aye, they're coming to find you anyways. That's what happens.
There's a punishment
Rotation.
involved if they're not
Oh,
happy
aye.
with them.
What's the punishment? Is it like a camaraderie
Can vary.
type punishment or
We've
a
been
proper
pulled out
discipline?
car parks and that
Yeah.
and shouty that.
Yeah,
I've,
we've been-
A car park chat?
Had a car park chat. We've had 50 press ups is a normal one.
Right,
Like,
okay.
That's not even just for jobs, that's for anything. Like if you leave a cup up at your lunch, or you don't clean the table, or you leave a bit of kit out on the pitch, you leave a jumper lying about, you're on 50 press ups, and it can add up sometimes.
How many press ups have you had over the time?
I think in the one day I've had 200 was I got given 200 one time in the one day because we all left the training centre. Mum will remember this. I'm sitting in the house just watching TV.
We've just come
eating
home, haven't we?
Yeah,
not?
we literally just got home. I
had
put food
just
on.
literally picked him up from training
Right.
and driven him home.
I put food on, cooked the food, made the food, was eating it, and my phone pings, and I check it, and my coach is raging. He's called the full team back into the training centre.
You're
and this
joking.
is it,
What,
like,
straight away there and then?
straight away there and then he went, it was about 6 o'clock or something, because it was quite a late day, it was a Monday or something, and our coach went, everyone back in this training centre right now, and we were all like, oh no, what have we done? And he's got photos of everything. He's got a photo and there's like t-shirt, Under Armour, shorts,
Socks
and
as
my
well.
slips,
Aye,
yeah,
there's socks.
yeah, and it was all my kit. So it was 50 per bit of kit, and then the punishment after that was a 5 p.m. depart with no phones. We had our phones taken off us. We had them taken off us last season as well, from middle of the season to the end.
Yeah.
So about half of the season, when we got in the building, our phones had to be put in the coach's drawer. We
Right.
didn't have them till we were showered and dressed, ready to go home.
So it made us socialise then. We're in the
Yeah.
change room.
You had to talk to each other.
I brought in a Monopoly board to play. And, the coaches kind of like that though. They prefer that because they still say it now. Like we got our phones back now, obviously, but they come in our changing room and certain boys just sit on their phone and they don't really
Interact with the rest of the team.
interact with
Keeps us
the
all team morale,
yeah.
keeps all
The
together.
coach
that.
comes in, he's like sitting on your phones. Like it was better when we didn't have phones because we were all playing.
Yeah.
Like, we all got along as a team. We still do, but you find out more about people and you get to know people better when we don't have phones.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You gel more.
There's nothing wrong with showing the world how well you're doing. I think that's really important.
Yep.
But I also think there's a big gap in people being real, and that's what I want to be able to share with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know
No,
what I
I
mean? So with
completely agree.
clients, I'm as real as they come. You know, I'll talk to clients and I'll say to them, listen, I want you to be able to pick up the phone to me through Mayhem Marketing. If you've got a question or you don't like something we've done, pick up the phone and say, Billy, I don't love that.
Yeah.
Don't hide it. Don't sugarcoat it.
Just be honest.
Talk to me, because if you tell me that, I can quickly pivot and adjust and we'll get this right for you.
Yeah.
Because if these things are possible, what you're trying to achieve, I'm not here to try and get this perfect for you. In fact, if you force me to try and get it perfect, it won't be perfect.
Aye, it's not going to work.
If we have a symbiotic relationship through the marketing company and we work together on your business, let's say, then we get that right. And then we get the marketing right. And we get in the trenches together.
Yep.
And at first, it's full on. But do you know what happens after a while? I know your business so well, so intimately well, and I know how you speak, how you talk, the language and the tone of voice you want to have as a company. I can be you online.
Mhm.
We can be your company.
Yep.
We can think like you. We can know your market and your customers. And once we get by that initial push of trying to understand each other, you get to sit back and let us take the reins for there.
Aye, let us take care of the rest.
Aye. But I'll tell you, listen, see this thing you're trying to achieve here? Every business is different. But let's just say there's a company when I'm looking and I'm thinking, no, there's going to be a bit of a testing phase here with your Google ads.
Mm.
I'm going to turn around and say to you, by the way, see the first few months, based on your business and what you're trying to achieve, it's going to be a bit more of a testing phase than a results phase.
Mm.
Are you okay with it?
Yeah.
Because if you're not, it makes no difference. Any other marketing company you go to, it's going to be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They might tell you something different,
Yeah.
but you'll be back at my door in 6 months.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
So I'll be real with you.
I think that sounds like the biggest difference of what what you're offering, because let's be honest, there is that many of these so-called market agencies out there now on social media that are really just somebody sitting for their house, right?
Yeah.
And probably not telling you the truth, and that probably sounds to me like the biggest difference of what you're offering is honesty and what I can actually get you on the product. Where there's a lot of these ones out there that are like telling you, listen, give us your business, and we're I've seen one of these Facebook and TikTok, and they're giving guaranteed.
Aye.
Yeah.
We run your ads for £1, and if you don't get results, we'll give you 20 quid back. And
Aye. They're marketing themselves as opposed to marketing their.
And there's always more to it.
Yeah.
I'm not shit on anybody. I want everybody to have equal opportunity, and there's enough business out there for everybody to do their thing. But, with me personally, you say what we're offering, it's an interesting phrase. Yes, we are offering things. Websites, branding, online advertising, social media, different campaigns. But more than anything, I want a relationship with my clients.
Yeah.
I'm not here to sell you anything. You can't go to my website and buy something, and just because you talk to us does not mean I'm taking you on as a client.
Yeah.
Because I won't tell you what you need until I've asked you everything I can possibly think of to really understand what you need.
Yeah.
And when I know, based on our conversations, what you've tried, what you've thought, what other people are doing, who your market are, what you do for them, what problems you're solving, how your customers think, when I really get that for you, then I can sit there and think, do you know what? You've got these different tools in the toolbox, like a website, a scorecard, a webinar, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, front end, retargeting, back end, this, that, the other. We've got all these tools. And an amateur would say, let's just pick this up, we'll try and do that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's like, you don't need a hammer for that. You need something else, right? So, as I know we've got all the tools in the toolbox, but what I want to do is learn you so that I can then say, right, now that I know you very well, here's what I would suggest in terms of strategy.
Yep.
Let's do this. And then we work together.
Well, I think it's all in relationship building. It doesn't matter what you're doing and who you're working with. If you've not managed to secure a solid relationship and understand how each person works, then I think it's doomed to failure.
Well, I'm going to say something that I'm going to give a bit of advice to other people in the same industry as me here, right? At my own peril, right? See, when you're dealing with clients, one of the hardest things you can do is take on new clients. It's hunt for new business, right? Recurring business, secure contracted income is the best way to move forward, right? Because, these 10, 15 grand wins where you've got a big chunk coming in for doing a job, and you think, this is great, we've got money, but then you're out chasing the next deal.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got a lower amount, but it's contracted over time, great. So for me, I would not waste my time or yours by taking you on as a client and doing a bad job knowing that in a couple of months I'm going to lose you and I'm going to have to repeat the cycle.
Yeah.
If I take somebody on as a client at Mayhem Marketing, I want you to sit down with me in 5 years' time and say, right, what's our quarterly strategy?
Yeah.
What we're going to do now? Any new ideas, Billy? How we're going to focus?
So it's an investment you're making more in that client than some of the other marketing companies are doing just now.
Absolutely. Take me to your Wayne's christening, do you know what I mean? Like, I want a relationship with people.
Yeah.
And I want to be working with you for many, many years.
Yeah.
And that's not a sales pitch, it's just good business.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
You can take it back to something as simple as car insurance. This is going to sound like it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it's the same system that if they were just to be sensible and be loyal to the customers that are loyal to them and give them their policy at maybe 20 quid dearer than it was last year, and save the heartache of people having to shop around for new insurance and go through all that grief, which nobody's got the time for or wants to do. Yeah. But instead, they put your premium up like substantially, almost chasing you away to get new customers. I can't understand.
They push the current customers away in order to try and get new customers.
Exactly, and instead of just
what you just said,
instead of just doing both things, try and encourage new customers, but be loyal to the customers that are being loyal, that can be maybe loyal to you. It just doesn't make sense.
The easiest thing to keep.
That's a corporate kind of attitude. These large corporate. In fact, that's their kind of attitude.
Yeah, I don't understand how it works for them.
Well, sometimes when you get big, you get clunky. Mistakes get made, and that's what we done with the last media company as well. We got very big, very fast, and there was too many moving parts for me to cope with. So now we've got a light on our feet, a lethal little team,
Right.
And we get shit done and we do it fast. You know? But no, any business you want to be getting contracted income, serving a real need, operating in a market where people actually need what you want rather than just want it, you know? And the more predictable income you can create over time, the more secure your business is going to be. You know?
Yeah.
And if you're doing a good job for people, you're going to keep their business. If you're doing a bad job, you won't. It's pretty fucking obvious.
Yeah.
It's just mind-blowingly obvious.
Do you think what happened to you, which you just said, is you pretty much grew too big too quickly? Do you think that's happens a lot now, given the fact of there is people who can become, I'm not saying an overnight success, but given the fact that through social media, you know, you can put one post up and you're a nobody and the next day you are somebody. Do you think there is it's happening more often than people are willing to speak about, and they're not able to cope at the capacity that they're then operating at, and they're probably too small for the capacity that they've got?
Well, this is where risk appetite comes into it, because, you know, I say we grew too big too quick. That wouldn't have been a problem if we didn't run into problem B and C.
Yes,
or here.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we hadn't had that problem with the hotel chain or the other client or a couple of bad experiences here, which I can all look back at and I need to take responsibility for and say, do you know what? I should have had them paying as a retainer for the start. Or this client here, we didn't have our eyes on the ball with that, and that's why that went south, right? So if this problem and that problem hadn't happened, then I would never be saying we grew too big too fast. But growing too big too fast is a problem because other things started to appear along the way.
Okay.
So nothing's ever clean cut, black and white.
Yeah.
But absolutely, there's a lot of businesses that will outgrow their capability and their capacity very quickly. It's just no easy. You know, in the last 6 months, honestly, the amount of business owners I know in Central Scotland alone, personally know, who've went under, unbelievable.
Really?
All frightening. I'm not going to sit and talk about it. There's no more place to do
course,
it. But anybody watching this who is aware of these sort of things, they'll know that there's quite a few firms that have went down that are very well known. Some have been very vocal online. On the face of it, some of these companies have been doing massive things, you know. But again, the people that have lost those businesses, they've started up again.
Yeah.
And
They'll bounce.
dusted themselves off. They've ignored the bullshit online, and they've got right out in front of it, and they've started again. And they've learned from their experiences. For example, one company I know, can't mention the name, but a good friend of mine that owned the company. The jobs they were doing were too small. The team they had was too big, and the people that were paying them were dragging their feet.
Right. Okay.
So they had a few $100,000 a month coming in, but they had equally large expenses going out. And when the people who were supposed to pay them didn't pay, they had to come up with that money from somewhere.
Right.
Which leads to internal issues, staff challenges and all the rest of it. And because it was small jobs that they were doing, the logistical side of it was a nightmare. You know? So now, this same guy who ran that company knew he started something else and knew he's not taking on as many small jobs.
Right.
He's taking on bigger jobs and he's only looking for that kind of work.
Right.
He's keeping his team light and they're running lean, and they've got different payment terms in place for the people that pay them to make sure that they're never the ones left stung.
Yeah.
And you would think that with this guy's 20, 30 years of experience of doing this, that he would know this. But we're always learning.
That was all from jobs getting done poorly. So like folk cutting corners, using cheap material, not prepping right, bashing it out, trying to keep it as cheap as possible. And one thing I will say is, we are not the cheapest, but we state that from the start.
Yeah.
It's the whole customer experience through. You're getting a warranted job, you're getting very high quality design work.
Yeah.
And that's something that I would say our team, so we've got 2 graphic designers, Chris being one, my business partner, and Gregor in our studio, who that's all he does day in, day out, vehicle graphic design. That's what we specialise in, vehicles. And you'll get customers come in going, I want this, I want that. Sorry, that's what we do. We specialise in it.
Right.
And that's where we felt a lot of other companies, and it's no disrespect, like sign companies who rap, like it's diversifying a wee bit. We just do vehicles.
Right.
And that's the big thing, I'd say.
Yeah.
And we stick by that.
Yeah, a lot of other companies you're saying, you see them out there on social media now that are doing, they'll rap this and they'll rap that, they'll pretty much rap anything, whereas you're saying, listen, we are the experts in this
in
field,
one thing.
and we'll contain our expertise to this market.
Aye, so the likes of, we do cars, vans, boats, trucks, anything automotive. The big thing I always say is we don't wrap kitchens. We
Yeah.
don't wrap like stuff in your house.
Yeah.
Like it's not our bag.
Yeah.
We could do it, but then you're diversifying off, going, right, folk think we do all that kind of stuff like that. We want to stick to what we do
You're
best.
a specialist
Yeah.
in your field, aren't you?
That's it,
Yeah.
aye.
Exactly.
Which to us, it allows us to keep the passion of the vehicles is our thing. And it's diversifying within the vehicle market. So that's where, as much as we are Shore Wraps, you will see on social media we now have Shore Wraps and Shore Vehicle branding.
All right.
And the reason for that is, so likes of your truck's a perfect example. So you've got a customer who you maybe do work on their high-end car, so their Lamborghini, their Porsche, their Ferrari. Folk love that, seeing it on social media. It's a different market showing a branded vehicle.
Yeah.
So you've got the company side of it, which is Shore Vehicle branding, your truck, the likes of vehicles on the road, trucks, vans, all that. But it's the design side of our Shore Vehicle branding that really pushes us forward, I would say.
Yeah.
That, the install, the quality of work in terms of the install, that they're using materials that will last.
Yeah.
We're not here for the one hit. We're here for, as you say, come back for the next vehicle.
Yeah.
And that's what we felt was missing in
Yeah.
Scotland. Like, there was a churn it through, get it out, do another one, and then maybe not see the customer again. We want to build a relationship that you come back.
Yep. And I think you've absolutely nailed it, because I mean, Grant and I have both mentioned your company multiple times, and the thing that got it for me was the customer engagement and the customer satisfaction
Aye.
was, and the attention to detail, and nothing was any bother. I phoned you with something, it was
Get it
dealt
fixed,
with, it got
aye.
fixed. There was one wee issue I think that we had, and before we even knew that there was an issue, you'd already remedied it.
So that's something I do. I really push that, and I'll go into it later when we get to other points. But see, when something goes wrong, put your hands up. Don't
Yeah.
hide it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that's something that with the whole team. So like, there's 6 rappers we've got. I trust them all, and it's because of that trust that you know what's going out the door. So see something goes wrong, put your hands up, say we'll fix it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll quite openly say I think it was your wind deflectors on it.
Yeah.
So one crack, taking it off,
That's right.
preempt it, buy new ones, the exact ones, genuine, put them on, don't cut corners.
Yeah.
Like, you lose a bit on the job, but the customer's kept in the loop with what's happened. They know they're getting it sorted. You don't want to hide that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Bobby, and I've told an advocate of that, and I think that's where sometimes people on the other side, as the public, as the customer, need to understand that, see, the end of the day, regardless of what, you know, whether it's your industry, in the automotive, of any customer service industry, right, there's all human beings behind that industry, right?
Things
and
are going to go wrong.
Things are going to go wrong, and we're all
It's not
going
a
to...
machine.
Yeah, exactly. And even at that, they'll go wrong as well, right?
Aye.
So
Yeah.
hence why I've got mechanics and engineers, you know. So behind that, there is human beings that are going to go wrong. But I totally agree, especially from an automotive background, that and generally people are fine. When you explain, by the way, there's an issue we've came across, right? And this is what we're going to do about it. People are generally fine.
Yeah.
But as you say, it's when you
When you try and
When
hide
you try
it,
and
or you
hide
try and
things, or you cover it up, or you bodge it,
boom
or
about it, then
Yeah.
that's
it's not the
just
way to
raises
be.
flags, and you just think, oh,
Yeah.
Can't
We
be
see
bothered.
it day in, day out. And one thing I'd say is as a company, the level we're at, and this has not been big-headed by any means, but we'll have a lot of customers that will maybe get a price from us, get a price elsewhere, go and get the cheaper quote, and then after they pick their job up, they phone us and go, I've got a little bit of an issue. Would you guys mind looking at it?
yeah, fixing it. How can you fix it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And there's been numerous occasions where that's happened. And I feel really bad for the customer, because I can see the damage that's been done to their vehicle, the money they've spent, and it's not nice. And that's why, from the type of person and the type of company we are, we do help them.
Yeah.
Like, because they've wasted money. That's a lot of money when you're getting a vehicle wrapped.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that we wanted to get over in Scotland.
Yeah.
Like, try and break that mold of, oh, it's not the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, like, you'll see on the road, vehicle branding and vehicle wrapping is such a massive part of
Yeah.
people's companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The likes of
It's
social
part
media.
of the marketing.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've not got it, the way I would say is, it's kind of you're a wee bit behind the times nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's where people going onto our social media, like as I've said to you, Shore Wraps as a whole, folks see the finished article, but they don't see the behind the scenes of who we are.
Yeah.
And that's something we probably lack. Folk want to see who's doing the job, who's part of it.
Yeah.
Um,
But you had your open day not that long ago that we went to. So
That's
I mean,
good.
that was that was successful.
So I would say that's something that we're part of the whole giving back to the customer. So folk will go, oh, you're doing your open day just to get more business. That's not why we're doing it.
It's not the main reason.
That's
I mean,
exactly
it's
it.
part of it, but I mean, it's seen the bigger whole picture, isn't it?
So on
So
that,
what did that entail on the open day?
we pretty much, we run a thing called Caffeine Fueled Sundays.
Right.
From the two sides of the business as well. So what we do is we get a lot of customers back, whether it be business orientated or kind of high-end car orientated. Put a kind of, it's like a
Showcase, isn't it?
Aye,
Yeah.
chilled Sunday morning. So it's like open premises, folk can see around it. Jobs that are in, have like a live DJ on, coffee van, but it's bringing back the customers that have been loyal to you as well and showcasing your work. So like, so we had a whole kind of area set for all our commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
The truck was there.
Yeah.
A lot of other wraps that we've done, but it's not always just the look at the fancy car, because when you see the fancy print side of your sort of stuff, the attention that gets as well is, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
We turn heads everywhere. You drive in, there's people driving past us that are going like that.
What was that going by?
I mean, I think the size of the truck doesn't help either.
Yeah.
But,
Definitely.
the colours, I think, that we picked.
The gold's lovely.
The branding, it just came out so perfect that,
from our side of like
such
your
a
truck,
classy
I know
job.
we keep going back to it, but we like to kind of push the limits of what's available as well within our industry. So your truck especially could have been printed on like a white vinyl, white look kind of like gold, whereas we pushed it and we go, right, we're going to print it on gold vinyl so that you get 100% the effect of it's that metallic kind of deep gold. It's not like a brown or a kind of
or
horrible
a harsh
colour.
Yeah, trashy kind of colour,
Whereas there's a lot of companies that won't push those limits because they're like, oh, I didn't know that was possible.
Right.
For us, we do a lot of that kind of, because it's the niche of, it's a bit more special. Like, so we had a customer last week travel up from Bolton to get his drift car done, purely because he's like, I love the work you do, I love the design.
Yeah.
Right.
We had a company from the Midlands come up, Midlands VW. They're a kind of tuning and automotive company, because they're like, the stuff you guys do is out there, I love it. We just can't find that.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll be people, but it's just in terms of they've seen what we do, and they want to be part of that customer
experience.
journey
Yeah.
experience. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Another thing we push is, not every company does this, but from the social side, so when your vehicle generally gets done, we want to showcase it properly. So it's like fully photographed, edited pictures, do a social media post. And we don't promote it this way, but it's good for the customer as well, because it's promoting their business.
Of course.
And that's why we feel it goes hand in hand.
You know, I wanted big long legs. I've got wee legs. Go over it. I'm not going to get big long legs.
There's some things you just need to accept that are not going to change.
But let's focus on what's nice. So what I get a lot of, because I've got a huge organisation now in New Skinning, and I've got some beautiful people I work with, and I'm back recruiting because I have got a pin title that I've not reached yet, and because I've done my healing and I'm ready now, we had completely new energy to attract different people. So I'm looking to mentor a few people to help them change their life. I can't do it for them, but I can give them all the knowledge that I've got, and I can give them the support on the back of products that work. Whether people choose it or not, it's down there, but I can also give people products that want to look younger and feel younger. But if I can give, which I don't make any financial benefit out of it, if I can give people the power to look at themselves in the mirror and learn to say I love you, but also to be truthful on how do I feel.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be jealous of the girl next door that's got a better car or a nicer handbag or a guy that's got bigger bicep. It's okay to do that because the minute you're truthful with you, you can change that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong. We haven't feelings are there for a reason.
Exactly.
It's when we suppress them or kid ourselves on it, we don't feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one friend, very quickly, I've got one friend who I love her dearly, and she doesn't like to voice how she feels. So she just suppresses it. She puts lids on it. But then when she's the truth drink, that good old alcohol,
Yeah.
it all comes out.
Right.
And I'm saying to her, but just be truthful. And even if you don't want to say to somebody that you're annoyed with somebody, then there's this wonderful technique, and it's called letter burning.
Okay.
Right.
And when the letter burning's done correctly, again, back to done correctly, instead of, let's say, for example, with my ex, I've not had a conversation with my ex since I've really left him. Have I had to express all these horrible feelings I felt for him? Yes. The way I did it was I wrote my letter. And I wrote him a lot of letters.
Okay.
There was my fire alarm went off one time, so you burn it. But now I'm in a position where I genuinely wish the guy luck. I hope he's happy, and I don't.
Yeah.
But what happens with letters, and there's a way to do it. So please rewind this wee bit if you don't hear it the first time. Yeah. You write, and I've wrote myself some. So I write, "Dear Catherine," and then I start writing. And I because I'm dyslexic, I just let all the feelings in the pen. So you don't need to worry about your grammar. I just let all the emotion. I was shocked sometimes because there was like a demon in me. Sometimes it would come out and I'd be like, and I'd be screaming. I think, who is she? But that was all trapped emotions that I just trapped in there and just never identified. I lied to myself. And then you'd write, "Dear," write down what you feel. Then you would say, "Thank you for my lesson." Now that can be a hard one because you might take you weeks before you realise, what did I learn? So I'm grateful for Keith because Keith taught me to get the strength when I was in it. I felt as if I was trapped and I had the strength to come up and go, no, this isn't good enough. And also he's taught me how to forgive. So that I'm gratitude. Then you'd put, "I love you." Then you'd put it to one side and then write down 20 to 30 things that you love about yourself or that you just want, or anything that makes you feel happy. So, and then you burn the two of them together. So you're burning that negative and that positive together.
Okay.
Right.
Please don't think this takes one attempt and then everything's magical.
The sun is shining.
Aye. You want to be doing it for at least 10 days. And if anybody's on here that's going through a challenging time with their partner, but they want the relationship to work, they want to remember that spark that they had, that love that was clearly there a long time ago, then write them a letter about how you feel about them, being truthful. "I'm angry you let me down, blah, 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 blah." And then, this works, by the way, I've seen a lot of people turning it to be sweet little lovebirds again, you don't need them to change. There's people say do you need two people to change in a relationship? You don't really, you just need one of them to really change. And that has an impact on another person.
Right.
So you would put down 30 things that you loved about that person, 30 things that you remembered. So what happens is, because you're because what happens is when somebody's pissing us off, we focus on that energy. He's not dried the dishes. I mean, how many times do I have to walk in there and round it? We've all done it. And then, but if you start to focus and go, "Oh my God, he always used to come in and make me smile," or he always gets my car warm for me. Because you're not looking at anything like that. You're not looking at anything that they're doing good at the moment. You're just
focused on the
honing
negative.
in on that
tunnel
negative.
vision on that.
Tunnel vision. So then all of a sudden you start writing down all the things that you love about them. But what happens? You change. And because you change, your vibration changes.
Right.
And when your vibration changes, it starts to attract
The
vibration that you're in alignment with.
Right.
So all of a sudden, your partner comes in, and another thing, which is something that I do, and I do feel a bit sorry for my other partners because they've never seen the Catherine that Robert sees.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I tell Robert all the time how amazing he is and how lucky and how grateful I am to have him in my life. I never said that to any of my other partners. I used to highlight, "Oh, you're this, you're that." So they never seen that side of me. So, and I always say to people, tell your partner how much you love them. Tell them what you love about them.
You wouldn't have been telling them that anyway if they were continually putting you down, would you?
But they only put me down because I allowed that.
Yeah.
And they only put them down because guess who was putting Catherine down the most?
Catherine. Right.
So I don't put Catherine down anymore. So there's nobody comes into my environment that's allowed to do that.
Right.
But I was always putting Catherine down. So of course I'm going to allow, that's giving the green flag for anybody else to do it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So you need to take ownership of you to allow you to then love you enough to attract somebody. And if you do love somebody, tell them you love them. Tell them that, you're dead chuffed for the way they look. I think Robert's so handsome. I'm constantly telling him how handsome he is. Did I say that to any other ones? No.
Yeah.
So I take ownership, in other words.
Yeah.
But the point is, really be honest with how you feel. That's the biggest message. Look in the mirror and go, how do I feel?
And then I took that business. It was a tiny 30-seater restaurant, and I grew it to being the biggest takeaway operation in Britain within 4 years.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
What did you do to grow it, to get it such a big operation?
So you need to go to Mustak's kitchen, Google the images. This is like an aircraft hangar of a kitchen.
Yeah.
It was on. Have you? Yeah.
I've seen it.
So what did I do to grow the business? Easy. Focused very much on the product. Great product, great service, great price point. Wrap it up in good marketing and deliver it consistently. That is the formula for any business, and that's all I did. And see, when I'm on podcasts and I'm talking to people and they ask, what's a magic formula? That is the formula.
Right.
Very easy to say, but very difficult to execute
yeah.
day in, day out.
Yeah.
And keeping those standards high and the quality high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back just a wee second on unpacking from leaving your corporate role.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you leave a job, which you said was a great job, very well paid, and then you go and start a business, everybody thinks on day one that's you made it now because you've got a registered company in Company's House, and you made a penny yet, right?
Yeah.
So how did you handle you presumably must have had a dip in your salary?
Major. Not only my salary, but my wife's salary as well. And this is a great thing. One of my big successes is the fact that I had a wonderful wife. Sorry, I have a wonderful wife that just supports my decisions, and that's just fantastic. She had a really well-paid job, and I said, we're going to leave. We're going to move back to Hamilton and start a business, and she said, okay, and she supported me all the way.
Do you think you could have done it without her? Do you think having the right partner is
crucial?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's it really does help. If you've got someone that's just fighting your corner for you.
Yeah.
Although she only worked in the business for the first year and then we had children, just the fact that she was always there when I arrived home stressed. It was someone where I could let off some steam. She was always very understanding, always very supportive. So yeah, I think having the correct partner is absolutely fundamental. It's a major advantage.
Yeah, it definitely has an effect in your business. I don't care what anybody says, because if you're with the wrong partner, you go into the business with the wrong attitude and the wrong setup for the day. So it's absolutely crucial, in my opinion.
Yeah. And my wife, this is quite interesting because there's a lot of talk about this. There was a lot of talk about women should be working, women's empowerment and all that. And then you see all these TikTok. I love these TikToks. There's these women. This girl's sitting in a car at 2 a.m. starting the night shift, and she said, "Who came up with this idea that women should work? Women's empowerment. Who thought of that? She's going in for her night shift." So there's been a lot of chat about women's empowerment, but now I think my wife hasn't worked since she left her corporate job, and I don't want her to work. She looks after the kids. She looks after the house. When I arrive home, she's happy. The kids are happy. They're fed. Dinner's cooked. It's just such a wonderful environment to come to.
Yeah.
And I think that's much better for me to perform in business rather than having her there and she's dealing with the stress. I need that peace when I go home.
Yeah. Sounds like she's looking after you as well.
Yeah. and it's true. It's true. Like, I don't have to worry about anything in the house. I don't cook. I don't clean. She takes care of everything.
Yeah.
She looks after the kids really, really well. And then the other thing is, and I don't understand this, and it's very sad. I would see when I went to drop my kids off at nursery, parents would drop their kids off at 8 o'clock in the morning, like 6-month-old babies, and pick them up at 6 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I would much rather work extra hard.
Yeah.
If me and my wife are struggling to pay the bills, and my wife has to work, I would rather work extra hard, double the time, but I would ensure that my wife is home looking after the kids.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost some of that.
That raises quite a big discussion as well, because I think you're absolutely right. I think it's important that children have got that stability from a young age
Yeah.
and know that that environment is a nice, safe, happy environment, that their mum's always there for them, kind of thing. But I also think that the way life is just now and the demands and the cost of living,
Yep.
it's making both parents having to work
Yep.
and make that sacrifice so that they can provide for the children.
Yeah.
But then that also gives them a different opinion of, well, why don't you just accept less?
Yeah.
You know, have a little bit less for a little bit of time so that it is just the man that's going out to work.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other thing of, but women want a piece of the cake as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are they the ones
Because
that
that's
have
what
just got to
social
stay-
media is telling you. That's
why.
why.
They just
Yeah.
got to stay at home and do all the cooking and the cleaning and get, you know, sometimes
Yeah.
little or no thanks for it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's your case because that's obviously that is obviously not coming across. It's
Yeah.
that you're very grateful that that side of things is taken care of and
Yeah.
you're very appreciative. But
Yeah.
a lot of women don't have that.
And my wife appreciates the fact that I go out and work hard. And if
Yeah,
I need to, I
of
can
course.
work 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15, 16, whatever number of
Yeah.
hours I need to get the result over the line.
Yeah.
So-
But, and then there's some women that don't like that because then they feel that they're being neglected. They've never seen their husband. And then that takes them down other paths of filling
Yeah.
their time
In
differently.
fact,
And
that's a good point. For the first 6 years of my business, from 2009 to 2015, I never had dinner with my wife. I was always working. I was working 14, 15, 16 hours a day, every day for 6 years. Hardly saw my son. He was a newborn at the time. For the first 6 years of his life, hardly saw him. Hardly saw my wife for the first 6 years, and my wife never complained once.
yeah, because I think again, if you're working as a team
Yeah,
and you know it's for a greater good,
Yeah.
and that this is like a short-term pain
yeah,
for a better family
Exactly.
gain,
exactly.
then you're all working on the same page and everything's cool and you're reconnecting and you're communicating that as those 6 years are going along, you know, it's fine,
Exactly.
everything's going to be okay, then that's good. But if you're not doing that,
Yeah,
that's where the fractures come in
Yeah.
to play, and then it can go off
Yeah.
course quite quickly.
I got slated. Oh, you'll never get that time back that you missed with your son. Yeah, but ever since that point, I've never once had to worry about any decision, about anything. My son's a Manchester City fan, and it was Real Madrid versus Manchester City in the Bernabeu, which is the most amazing stadium in the world. This stadium is mind-blowing. He says, Dad, can we go to that? Yeah, of course you can. Organise the tickets. It cost, I don't know, thousands of pounds. Just did it. Didn't even think twice about it. Didn't even hesitate. A dream experience in the Bernabeu. So these are the types of things. Yes, I made the sacrifice.
These are the rewards.
But now this is the reward.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think
Absolutely.
that goes back to anybody that says money doesn't bring you happiness. I quite frankly think it's bullshit, because the physical pound notes don't,
Yeah.
but the experiences that you can bring to that, and
And the
especially
memories
to
you're
your and the
building.
memories to your family,
Yeah.
you can't do that
Yeah.
without financial stability.
Yeah, exactly. Money makes the world go round. And that's very, very important. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, without money, you've got no options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
You're
fact, talking about
very
that,
stuck.
I'm going to hijack this podcast, right?
Listen, it's all yours. You're centre
Talking
stage.
about
On you go.
podcasts. We just spoke about having money gives you options, and one thing I get slated for, I say to people in my podcast is, I don't say to people, I say to myself, you must have savings in the bank, and I get slated for that, and it's quite old fashioned. But I think if you've got savings in the bank, you've got options. Going back to this, then you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You can buy a property when you want. You can go on a holiday when you want. You can buy, I always make a point of having, a significant cash reserve in the bank. And then I get slated for it, for saying, oh no, it's depreciating, inflation's eating it away. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that what they're saying is true, but you'll also have the peace of mind that when you're going to bed at night, you've got that buffer.
Yeah.
If something was to go wrong,
Exactly.
Overnight or in the next week, then you've got that kind of safety net.
Yeah. The other thing I would say to that is, especially for young people, it's very easy to get seduced into the trend of the day. So remember, a few years ago was NFTs.
Yeah.
People are pumping money into NFTs, then crypto, and then all these Shibu coins and all these various coins. And the majority of those people have lost. And then Amazon FBA, you don't know a single person that's made significant money in Amazon FBA. You don't know
anyone who's made significant money in crypto. You don't know anyone that's made significant money in NFTs. Yet, when you go on social media, everyone's living it up. But in the real world, we don't know a single person.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone's a guru. Everyone's selling a course. Everyone's got a subscription. But yet nobody's actually seen any, knows anybody with results on it.
Yeah. So, that's just a little bit of insight from me.
Yeah.
Having money in the bank and not being seduced with the trend of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get carried away with all of them.
Yeah.
There's
So
no
I'm
doubt.
right. I'm right in saying you don't have a pension.
I don't have a pension, correct? I think I've seen too many bad news stories to trust anyone with my money. Let me explain. In the dot-com boom, 1997 to 2000, I was an expert trader, like so many people. And even now, you've got all these day traders. They've got the algorithms. I was one of those guys. I was making loads of money, and then in the dot-com crash, lost it all.
Pregnant, married, and I'm sat on a carpetless floor with an Indian.
See, the thing is, but I think that's where, again, listen, in social media, right, yes, we do need to sell ourselves, right? However, there is a lot of bullshit in the background, because see what you see there, if everything is portrayed very, very well.
Yeah.
The reality of it is, I think most of the people, I'm not saying to that extent, right, of sitting Christmas Day in a floor with Indian, but I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background in people's relationships, especially, that they don't. Now, why would you portray that on social media, right? But I think it does create that illusion of that other people go and look at their lives and go, well, why is mine not like that? But I don't think there's actually anything you're missing out on, because I don't think anybody's actually been truthful. Plus thing is as well, is that I think when you're in that position, right, of like the almost the low point, right, and you've got nothing, I think that's where you go like this is where the story begins.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough at the time, but this is where this, I'm the guy in the story, the woman in the story. This is the beginning of the story. Like, I'm going to make something for myself and reflect back, which you're doing right now, on that moment of, Jesus, how the hell did I get there?
Do you know, like, weirdly, I know my mum's moment. Like, I always go on about my mum, like, she's wee Tina is my, like, idol.
Right.
But her, like, what in the hell is happening here moment was when we first got our house in this totally wee village, and it was a 1 and a 4 in a block.
Right.
And everything we had was hand-me-downs, like everything. We had mismatched furniture, bizarre colours of walls, like it was just us. And again, we had no carpet on the kitchen, it was just a rug.
Right.
But there was one day, I was in primary 1 and I was walking back from school and it was snowing, and she was stood at the window. And I was like, oh no, is Mara my mess or something? What she's standing at the window for? Like, oh good God.
What's going on?
And I walked in and she was hyper. And I was like, all right, what's happening here? We won the lottery, what's going on?
Caught off guard.
And what it was she'd managed to get a hold of a video recorder and the Muppets Christmas Carol on video.
Right.
And she splashed out for Heinz tomato soup. And like we got like wee posh bread to eat. The two of us sat on the floor with Heinz soup watching Muppets Christmas Carol, and every year we do that on the lead up to Christmas to mark that like wee moment
just to remember that.
We're going up in the world.
Oh, I love that. The thing is, especially now, then when you could do that now on a daily basis, it makes you appreciate things so much more when you've came from a very humble beginning in life. And I think people that don't have that don't appreciate it as much.
Yeah.
You know? So
the curse of my manager
right.
At the bank. So when I was in my wee flat eventually, I had to get all my work gear set up, and it was like the 2 monitor screens, and like she were taking calls and stuff in the house. So
were you doing this from your mum's house at this point in time?
Yeah, and
right,
like taking it to like if I could get it in like an auntie's house, a pal's house,
right,
like it was just chaotic. But I got my flat and thought, right, here we go, we've got stability now, like blah blah blah. And I started doing therapy and stuff, like because I was like that rock bottom, and there was a procedure changing in the workplace, like in the script, like for one of the calls. And on this Zoom call in front of my entire team, my manager went, don't worry, Kat, don't be taking one of your panic attacks. Just follow the script. I looked at him, not dead in the eyes, but dead in the screen. And I was like, I'm off. Never worked for them again.
Yeah.
I went to HR and they were like, oh, it's just how he is.
Yeah.
Well, that's a losing battle. Really? So
you can't say that, especially if you are actually suffering from anxiety, and I think that's a risk that people take, is they don't know. You never know what somebody else has got on in their personal life. Even if somebody presents well, you never know what they've actually got going on in the background, which gives you a reason as why you should be kind to everybody, because you never know what somebody's going on. That wee tiny wee comment that you think's a joke can break somebody if they're at the lowest point.
I was just so disgusted in him, and then looked back as well, like on the previous experiences and stuff. So weirdly with my anxiety, like I need to be handsy. Like I can't just sit still.
Okay.
So I turned up at my mum's and I rearranged her full kitchen while she was out.
Right.
So she's come back like,
what's going on here?
What is happening? And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm really anxious. Then she came back another day and I'd painted her spare room for her because she said she was going to do it. And she was like, gonna just let me know what's happening. So
did you get some of the Yankee tablets for Jack and Victor rearranging the tins, rearranging the tins in the kitchen?
Honestly, you should have seen me. And then Stacey Solomon brought out the TV show Sort Your Life Out.
Yep.
And it was like, I could clear out Tina's stuff, whip it in the garden or in a room, just start again and make it look all nice. So this kept happening. It was weird. It was as if I was like nesting.
Yeah.
And then my papa was alive at the time and stayed a few doors up. And she was like, do you want to go help him with his cleaning? So I was like, aye, no bother. And my mum stays in this wee village where, if you've ever watched Two Doors Down.
Yeah.
Well,
I love it.
This is what it's like. So word started getting about, like, oh, want to come in and do our cupboards, want to do this, like, oh, wee Jean, she's wanting one, like, and everybody's always got like a pal or something that's wanting it done.
Yeah.
And then there was a girl I was friends with at the time who had a cleaning business. So shadowed her for a bit, like helped her with her social media and stuff. And I was like, oh, I would love to do like the more hoarding kind of style. Like I love just getting in about people's cupboards and finding like out-of-date food and just shite.
It's funny because that would be most people's idea of hell.
Oh, no,
that's your idea of pleasure.
Aye. Yep. See, like the older, like a packet of rice is, and I see the date, I'm like, 2007, what?
Go through people's cupboards. What's the most out of date food I can find here?
Aye. Like, I don't know why. I don't know where it stemmed from, but love it. And then it was one of my pals. He was helping my mum redecorate her room, and he was like, "Wait, tidy solutions," and it just ping. That was it. I went, aye. Why not? Like, do you think folk would go for it kind of thing?
Do you think this can actually be a real thing?
Aye. And he's gay and got like the most elaborate house you can think of.
Right.
And he went, come and clean my gaff, take pictures, punt them online. So I was like, okay, no bother.
How long ago was this roughly?
About 3 years now.
Right, okay.
Coming up to 3 years.
Okay.
And I was charging like £13-15 an hour. Just like, oh please, someone let me come and clean for you.
I think that's always the kind of, how do you put it, not the fear, but when you start off with a business, you've got the fear that you don't want to come across too expensive.
Yeah.
Because you need the business, and when it becomes your own income, you're reliant on it. But I suppose you've now got to a stage where you know your worth, you know your standard, you know the solution that you can provide, and you know you've got value in the price of whatever it is that you charge.
Yeah. Because I think there was that fear as well. Like the cleaning industry, it's such low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
But people's perception, it's as if they think I'm turning up with a bottle of Zolflora and a mop bucket and like to chat to you for 2 hours. Like I didn't anticipate how hard a job it actually is. Like it takes its toll on your body, but also it's so easy to ruin someone's home or like place of business if you don't know what you're doing. So this is why I kind of try to be so open on my socials and not be like in a condescending way, but be like, I wouldn't be using this like on that surface, or if you've got these like matte black covered taps, this is how you actually clean them. Keep on top of them. Don't use this. Like try to be educational. And then I also, this is just a new thing for me, but with social media, I've started vlogging, right?
Okay.
And it's mainly because...
Where's that, on YouTube or what?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, you should have seen the first one. I was like, this. Like, like, oh, hiya.